Hello, everyone, and welcome through the magic of digital audio. This is the From the Bench podcast. I'm your host, Mark Janish. It is July 19th, 2018, and needless to say, it has been an active summer so far. In the midst of the baseball all-star break, things are still happening across the NBA. And as we approach training camp, my eyes will be focused on Irvine, California, home of the Los Angeles Rams, training camp, home of the Seattle Seahawks in Renton, Washington, at the Virginia Mason Athletic Center. And of course, the Oakland Raiders with newly minted head coach John Gruden out of Napa, California. And of course, Lance Lynn and the Los Angeles Chargers, training camp home of Costa Mesa, California. And we might find our way to sprinkle in a little bit of the Dallas Cowboys, considering they're 30 miles down the 101 freeway from the Carpinteria Valley, where this broadcast is home and recording from. So, with that said, that's where we're going to be going. As far as football goes, I did want to address some issues today. I'm going to spend about the next 20 minutes talking about Manny Machado, Le'Veon Bell, Carmelo Anthony. And so these are some of the issues that I'd like to cover with you. So if you'd like, take a seat. You can get your favorite beverage, favorite snack food, and for the next 15 to 20 minutes, we're going to talk some sports about some of the major things going on around each and every league. Right now, it would behoove me to go to baseball. Manny Machado, third baseman of the Baltimore Orioles, formerly of the Baltimore Orioles, has been traded for 5 prospects. Okay, those 5 prospects traded by the Los Angeles Dodgers to acquire essentially a rent-a-player in the person of Manny Machado. Manny Machado can become a free agent. He's 26 years old. He's been in the Baltimore organization for 8 years, and once again, he has a tremendous upside, especially as it relates to the next few years. The Los Angeles Dodgers won the Machado sweepstakes in a trade on Wednesday. The Orioles received 5 prospects. Yusniel Diaz, right-hander. Dean Kramer. Yusniel Diaz is an outfielder. Third baseman Rylan Bannon. Righty Zach Pop, and third baseman Bravik Valera. So Manny Machado's career is over. He's about ready to be introduced in Los Angeles before the Dodgers play the Brewers in a Friday night game. We're going to resume league play for most teams tomorrow. Of course, right now, the Cardinals are playing the Cubs. I don't have a score for you at this time, but actually, I do have a score for you. Sorry about that. Right now, in the top of the 7th inning, I've got Chicago 6 and St. Louis 4. There is 1 out, no one on. Chicago Cubs, St. Louis Cardinals score at this particular time. So apologies for that little broadcast mistake, but we're happy that you're along on this edition of the From the Bench podcast. I wanted to go ahead and touch on the fact that Carmelo Anthony, the former Syracuse Orangemen, national champion under Jimmy Boeheim, the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Atlanta Hawks, and the Philadelphia 76ers have agreed to a 3-team trade that sends Carmelo Anthony, Justin Anderson, and a protected 2022 first-round pick to the Atlanta Hawks. Dennis Schrader and Timothy Luar-Cabrera to the Thunder, and Mike Muscala will be added to an already strong 76ers roster. That's according to reports. So we are seeing the end of an era as far as Carmelo Anthony in a Thunder uniform. The Hawks reportedly will buy out Carmelo Anthony's contract, which will make him an unrestricted free agent. That's if he clears waivers. The Rockets are front runners to land Anthony, and Anthony is also reportedly considering the Miami Heat. The 34-year-old Anthony has been a headliner his entire career. He's 19th in NBA history with 25,417 points. But he was more of a catch-and-shoot scorer last season instead of the ISO specialist he's always been. He averaged 16.2 points per game last year, struggled in his new role off the bench. His playing time did dwindle during the playoffs, and he wasn't really happy. And basically, when you lose your legs, you lose your jump shot. That's a curse to a jump shooter, and there is a reason why he would choose to leave. So after the season, he would rather play with the ball in his hands, being ball dominant, rather than coming off the bench. So at this point, Dennis Schrader, this is a 24-year-old guard from Germany. He played his entire 5-year NBA career with the Hawks. They selected him number 17 in the 2013 NBA draft. The Thunder are eager to add Schrader's speed and ball handling ability in the mix with all-stars Russell Westbrook and Paul George. The Hawks are motivated to trade Schrader after adding rookie Trae Young out of Oklahoma and veteran Jeremy Lin to their point guard rotation this summer. The first-round pick being sent to the Hawks is a lottery-protected 1 through 14 pick for 2022 and becomes 2 second-round picks if it doesn't convert or convey, according to Royce Young of ESPN. Muscala, also drafted by Atlanta in 2013. He brings size and shooting to Philadelphia. The 6'11" center forward averaged 7.6 points and 4.3 rebounds in 20 minutes. He shot 37% from the three-point line last season. His presence could help replace the production of forward Ersan Ilyasova, who signed with the Milwaukee Bucks during free agency. Luar-Cabrera is 2 years removed from being selected with a number 24 pick in the 2016 NBA draft. The lanky guard averaged 5.8 points, 1.4 rebounds, and 1 assist in 15 and a half minutes for the 76ers last season. Anderson is a 4-year veteran. After 2 seasons with the Mavericks and 2 with the 76ers, he played in 38 games for Philadelphia last season, and he was selected by the Mavericks with the number 21 pick of the 2015 NBA draft. So with that said, it looks like to me that this 3-team trade is going to strengthen the Thunder a little bit. Like I said, I like Dennis Schrader's upside. As far as Carmelo Anthony, I believe he's lost his legs. Therefore, he's going to have to find other ways to contribute and score, which he did not do during the playoffs, which is maybe a reason why his playing time declined. I also wanted to address Kawhi Leonard trade. Kawhi Leonard's trade to Toronto. And just look at a couple things. DeMar DeRozan played in Southern California at USC. 13,296 points, leading scorer in Toronto Raptor franchise history. Okay. The thing is, with the circumstances in Toronto, Kawhi Leonard talked his way out of San Antonio just by not playing. He didn't want to play there, so what ended up happening? His perceived value to a team precipitously declined, okay? Declined because he would have been able to make a lot more money had he been less boisterous, vociferous, whatever adjective you want to use in getting out of San Antonio. So they shipped him to the north. Now, what this does for the Raptors, because Dennis Green. No. Danny Green. Danny Green has been moved. Jacob Patel has been moved as far as that goes. What I like about this trade, and you may not be thinking about it, but I'll throw this out to you who are listening by Stitcher and potentially on the Libsyn podcast platform. I thank you for listening. Listen to this. The Lakers and the Clippers are the only two Los Angeles teams that can qualify to meet Kawhi's desire to be in Los Angeles. Okay, well, that's totally fine. That's awesome. That's a good thing. But what's going to end up happening is the Toronto Raptors appear to be in a rebuilding mode. Masai Ujiri, the president of basketball operations in Toronto, has a golden opportunity. Now, there's always a bright spot, a rose amongst the thorns, if you will. Let's talk about the rose in this deal. I'm not talking about Derrick Rose, by the way, those of you who are tracking with me here. But Carmelo Anthony, Kawhi Leonard could be used as a chip at the trading deadline in February of 2019. Or he plays out the last year of his contract. Maybe, let's say in a weekend Western Conference minus LeBron, Eastern Conference minus LeBron James. Let's just say that maybe the Eastern Conference is more wide open. What this opens up for Masai Ujiri is the potential for a blockbuster trade. Kawhi Leonard for young prospects from the Laker roster. That could be Lonzo Ball. That could be any one of a number of guys who the Lakers don't necessarily believe in, but at least the Lakers know who they will be negotiating with in the summer of 2019, next summer, for the services of a Kawhi Leonard. So you see the positioning of the situation. Toronto's in rebuilding mode. They're going to try potentially to ask Kawhi Leonard to stay in Toronto, which we know and pretty much conventional wisdom is that's not happening, okay? So get ready for that. But the Raptors are in a great position to grab some young players, build the nucleus around a questionably poor shooting Kyle Lowry in the clutch. What I'm saying is I don't think Kyle Lowry is the answer to problems in Toronto. And Valanciunas, great player. He's a pretty good player. He can play very well. I just don't understand why you give up DeMar DeRozan 13,296 points, leading scorer in Toronto franchise history, unless you're in rebuilding mode and you have a plan to build around Kyle Lowry and the rest of that crew and to continue to be competitive. So 59-23, Coach of the Year Dwayne Casey gets dispatched to Detroit after winning Coach of the Year. The number one seed in the East goes to the Raptors, but in a severely weakened Eastern Conference, minus LeBron James. We'll have to wait and see. This brings me to another point that I wanted to cover Let's discuss for the moment Pittsburgh's Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell has been suspended multiple times for possession of marijuana, cannabis, THC, and all that. Okay, as far as the THC within the cannabis. He has the ability to be a great player, but unfortunately, that could make him not unfortunately, but it could make him a Hall of Famer headed to Canton, Ohio, home of the National Football League Hall of Fame in the United States. That's where that's located. But the thing is, he's more interested in cannabis than Canton. So what the Pittsburgh Steelers management did, they lowballed Le'Veon in this manner. They decided to give him a $10 million upfront bonus, $70 million contract, 5 years. So you subtract that $10 million from that 5-year contract, and that makes it a $12 million contract per year for the next 5, okay? But the reason Le'Veon and his people, I believe, chose to refuse the offer and take the franchise tag, 1 year, $14.5 million, is this is actually a precipitous decline based on this guy's ability to run inside, take some punishment. But remember, running backs are very, very cheap, and they are also very, very plentiful. But remember, the shelf life athletically of a running back is about 6 to 8 years. Witness the retirement of the once heralded Murray. Murray went to Dallas, and he decided to go to Philadelphia. Then he leaves Philadelphia, goes to Tennessee, runs for 659 yards in 2017, and has to retire. So your shelf life for running backs is about 6 to 8 years. Le'Veon Bell is smart to cash in where he can. There will be some team that's not necessarily looking at his character, but the ability that he possesses to run the football, and you need to be able to run the football at least on a modest level consistently. So Pittsburgh intentionally lowballed Le'Veon Bell, thus causing Le'Veon Bell and his people to say, we're done. 2018 is the final year in Pittsburgh. So enjoy the final run of Le'Veon Bell's career in Pittsburgh. He's going to become a free agent. And there is somebody out there that will overpay for a Le'Veon Bell, when actually he probably only has 4 or 5 good years left if he keeps himself healthy. But then again, the involvement with the cannabis, the THC, and all that goes in with smoking pot is not going to help him. So at that particular point in time, I have to say Le'Veon Bell did the right thing by leaving Pittsburgh. Because like I said, there is somebody out there that will pay this money. But let's look at another trend. And I'm about ready to wrap this up in the next few minutes. This is the From the Bench podcast. I'm your host, Mark Janish. You can listen to this and any other podcast on Stitcher and Libsyn podcast platform. Also, accessmediaglobal.com. I'm your host, producer, head writer, founder of accessmediaglobal.com. You can find this podcast also at accessmediaglobal.com. All right. So what I wanted to wrap this up and say is, and ask myself, okay, what are teams like the Toronto Raptors and the Los Angeles Dodgers doing by essentially grabbing players for either one season or renting a player for 2 months, trying to make the playoffs, or in the Dodgers' case, the World Series. Let's look at the Dodgers. The Dodgers have had multiple injuries to Clayton Kershaw, Kenta Maeda, and most notably Corey Seager. The reason the Dodgers even have to look at a Machado is because they need to replace that UCL, Tommy John surgery recipient at third base, Corey Seager. All right. Corey Seager is going to be a great player. Corey Seager is in the mold, in my opinion, of a young Cal Ripken. Okay. He has that type of ability. But the fact of the matter is, Tommy John surgery takes 12 to 18 months to perform. The first person to get that was former Yankee, former White Sox, and former Dodger Tommy John with Dr. Frank Jobe out of Los Angeles, California at the time. Most Tommy John surgical recipients take 12 to 18 months to recuperate. So if I'm the Dodgers, not only do I have to look to today, but I have to understand with this prognosis, diagnosis, and looking at it the long term, Corey Seager may not be able to throw the ball 3 feet, much less across the diamond from second to first or second to third. So the jury's still out on that. And the thing of it is, the Dodgers need to have a plan. If Corey Seager does not return, what do the Dodgers do? If Machado decides he doesn't want the bright lights of Los Angeles, can't compete with the likes of Matt Kemp, Justin Turner, disagrees with Los Angeles management, isn't really ready for the bright lights and the spotlight of Los Angeles, the Dodgers have just, in a way, given up a lot of prospect. I'm not going to say they've given up the farm, but the fact of the matter is, the Dodgers are still going to need a shortstop regardless. So there's got to be a plan in play. So you're either going to remake this roster, you're going to retool, or you're going to get rid of some of your higher-end players. The interesting thing about this deal, the Dodgers didn't give up a frontliner for a frontliner. They gave up 5 prospects. Okay? The situation is such that Dodger fans, you might be in a little bit of trouble. Love Manny now. I mean, the jersey, okay, $119. Wearing number 8. Manny Machado is going to wear number 8. The jersey's going to be $119. Okay, he's going to be introduced Friday. We'll see what he says, but I'm not looking for what he says. I'm looking for that long-term plan, just as I'm be looking if I'm a Toronto Raptor fan. I'm looking at Masai Ujiri's long-term plan. If he cannot convince, cajole, and persuade a reluctant Kawhi Leonard, who doesn't really want to be in Toronto, wants to be in LA, to stay in Toronto, Masai Ujiri has an opportunity to leverage Kawhi Leonard in a nice little prospect package from either one of the Los Angeles teams, the Los Angeles Lakers most predominantly, and maybe the Clippers are in that mix if the Lakers are not going to grab Kawhi Leonard. But they do have money under the cap, as we've discussed on previous podcasts about what they can and cannot do. So I wanted to let you guys in on that. That's my feedback on Le'Veon Bell, the Kawhi Leonard trade, the Carmelo Anthony trade, and the Manny Machado trade. And to wrap this up with From the Bench podcast, I'm Mark Janish, listening on Stitcher and Lipson Radio. I want to let you know that I appreciate your listenership. The downloads are up, and the participation on the website at accessmediaglobal.com is up. So I definitely appreciate that. I'm here to nurture the love of sports. If you have any comments, you can go to the Contact Me page, or you can leave comments within any of the posts that I've left on accessmediaglobal.com. Still looking for the Richard Deutsch podcast this week, but we do have Jimmy Trena, the SI Media podcast, was posted by me earlier today. And among his guests, Philadelphia manager Gabe Kapler, former Texas Ranger, former TV analyst for Fox Sports. He's up with Jimmy Trena. Posted that up a little bit earlier in the day. More on the Manny Machado trade based on the Los Angeles Dodgers website. You can also go to the Major League Baseball page at accessmediaglobal.com, the NBA page at accessmediaglobal.com, or the on-air page for all podcasts and other and sundry things that you might want to get involved in if I'm not here to share with you. For now, it would behoove me to let you know that on Saturday, we're going to return to more normal programming. For the last month, we've dealt with the World Cup, Croatia and France playing in the final. A great month, a great interaction for those of you out there from multiple nations, Russia, China, Singapore, the United Kingdom, the Philippines. We thank you. If you weren't out there viewing and listening, then I would have no reason to do the podcast. I do this because I love the games, and I want you to love the games. And think about it. In the world that we live in now, where regardless of nation that you live in, you do definitely need a break from the struggles, from the problems, from the monotony, the grind, if you will, of life, okay? And I hope that I brought some or translated in some kind of form through the magic of digital audio, some form, my love of sports. This is why I do the podcast. You can get a hold of me, Mark at Access Media Global. Mark at Access Media on Twitter, accessmediaglobal.com contact page, and also continue to let your friends know regarding this podcast. This podcast is an opinion and analysis-based podcast. I'm Mark Janish, your reasonably erudite and very, very occasionally charming host. Wishing you a very pleasant good evening from the bench. From the bench in Carpinteria, California, I'm Mark Janish saying we'll see you next time, and we want you to be blessed. I want you to have a blessed day across whatever nation you're listening to, whatever time zone you're listening to. Keep your head up, stay strong, and we can all agree that we love sports. We may disagree in other areas. We may not be aligned in a lot of areas that way, but one of the reasons I do this podcast is to raise the banner of the unifying power of sports. For AccessMediaGlobal.com, I'm Mark Janish, founder, AccessMediaGlobal.com. Thank you for listening, and may God richly bless you. Salam alaikum, and have a great day and a great week wherever you might be and whenever you might be listening to this podcast. For now, I'm Mark Janish from the bench with the From the Bench podcast. Good night, everyone.